Have you ever wondered what happens when a government gets total control over creativity? Well, today we're going deep into Stalin's Soviet Union to see just that, the chilling reality for artists living under one of history's most powerful dictators.
So let's get right to it. We're tackling a pretty bold statement that in the Soviet Union under Joseph Stalin, true artistic freedom was completely, utterly dead. Was it really an iron cage for creativity, or were there maybe a few cracks where the light could get in? Let's find out.
Okay, so to really get what was going on, you have to understand the two main pillars of Stalin's cultural machine. First, an all-powerful cult of personality, and second, a super-rigid state-mandated artistic doctrine. Now, this was a huge shift from what came before. Under Lenin, the rule was pretty simple. As long as your art wasn't actively trying to bring down the government, you're pretty much okay. But Stalin, he had a totally different idea. He didn't see artists as creators. He saw them as engineers of the human soul.
And listen to Stalin's own words here. Even more than machines, tanks, and aeroplanes, we need human souls. I mean, that says it all, right? For him, art wasn't for expression. It was a factory, an assembly line for producing the perfect Soviet citizen, just as vital as building tanks for the army.
And what did that look like in practice? Well, you got this, a non-stop, over-the-top cult of personality. Poets, writers, you name it, they were basically forced to write this kind of gushing praise, turning Stalin into this almost godlike figure who could do no wrong.
And this control wasn't just some unspoken rule, it was the law. If you wanted to be a writer or an artist, you had to join a state-run union. There was no other way. This system made sure every single thing that got published or painted stuck to the party line. And if you dared to criticize, it wasn't just frowned upon, it was illegal.
So, if the government is controlling everything, what did the art actually look like? Well, that brings us to the one and only official style of the Soviet Union, something called socialist realism.
Now, the name socialist realism is kind of tricky because it had almost nothing to do with realism. The whole point was not to show life as it actually was, but to show life as it should be according to the party. It was a constant barrage of idealized, utopian propaganda meant to motivate people.
And this created the most unbelievable, jarring disconnect you can imagine. The art showed these cheerful, well-fed workers building a paradise with endless fields of wheat. But the reality? People were suffering through forced collectivization and the Holodomor, a horrific man-made famine that killed millions. The art was pure fantasy, designed to paper over a nightmare.
And believe me, this wasn't just a friendly suggestion from the government. This doctrine was brutally enforced by guys like Andrei Zhdanov, Stalin's cultural bulldog. He made absolutely sure that every painting and every poem served Stalin's political agenda.
So, you'd think the case is closed, right? A total, suffocating lockdown on all creativity, but the story has a bit of a strange twist.
Yep, in this artistic wasteland, one very specific type of art was, surprisingly, given a pass.
The great literary classics from Russia's past, authors like Dostoevsky and Tolstoy, weren't just allowed, the state actually promoted their books. Why? Well, the goal was to boost literacy. The state could spin it as, hey, this culture was once just for the rich elites, but now, thanks to us, it belongs to you, the worker.
And maybe this makes some sense when you learn that Stalin himself was a massive reader. The historian Simon Montefiore even called him one of the best-read rulers in Russian history. But let's be crystal clear. This wasn't about a love for free expression. It was a calculated move, another tool to mold the minds of the population.
But here's the ultimate irony. While the art of the past was allowed, the very art of writing history became Stalin's personal playground for propaganda.
Stalin knew something that all dictators know. If you want to control the future, you have to control the past. And he was a master at it. Just look at the official history of the Communist Party they put out in 1938. It's a masterclass in rewriting reality. Suddenly, Stalin is a central hero of the 1917 revolution, when it was really Lenin and Trotsky. His mistakes during the Civil War? Nope, they're magically transformed into heroic victories. Rivals like Trotsky were practically erased from the picture entirely.
Okay, so let's circle all the way back to where we started. Was there any real freedom of expression in Stalin's Russia?
When you look at all the evidence, the answer is barely. Maybe not absolute zero, but so close it might as well be. Any freedom that existed was just a tiny microscopic sliver, a carefully managed illusion that was only allowed to exist because it helped the state.
So let's just tally the score. Contemporary arts, completely controlled. Historical arts, allowed, but only as a tool. And the art of history itself, totally corrupted to serve the dictator. When you look at it that way, any chance for true, honest expression was completely and utterly denied.
Which leaves us with one last, really chilling question to think about. If the entire story of a country, its past, its present, its very identity, is a piece of fiction written by the state, what possible hope does an artist ever have of telling the truth?